Are we on now? Are we ready to discuss? Or are we waiting to go live?
Just waiting to go live. Hold on one second.
It says it's streaming live.
Yes, it is now. Yeah, there's a bit of a delay. All right, good evening, everyone. This will begin the deliberations for tonight's Zoning Board of Appeals hearing. During deliberations, board members deliberate cases. There is no participation by members of the public or by applicants during this time. We do have the applicant from case number 4, 1375 Culver Road. So we will start with that case, and then we'll go back to case 1 and work our way through.
Okay, great. So folks, any thoughts on case number 4 before we, it was a really good presentation by the applicant, really detailed presentation. So any additional comments or concerns with this case?
I mean, I guess for me, and I'm probably alone, so this shouldn't impact anything, but for me, he had it rented as a commercial space. So there's obviously an ability to do so. He just doesn't want to, which was pretty clear. So I mean, it's a no for me, but.
Was there anything additional? I thought the standards are the standards that the applicant laid out in statement of difficulty were all right on point. Obviously, I don't agree with F, the self-creation one, but I think all of the other standards were met for this application.
Yeah, I agree.
See, Cora, I would have a tendency to agree with you if in fact that building was up to the road and was originally designed as a commercial space. But I think it got converted because of that overlay district that came into play into the zoning code whenever. And it was built as a residential structure. So I understand there was some opportunity there for commercial space, but I don't even see how commercial space could work there in light of all the other commercial space that's empty around it.
Well, it seemed like when the it seems like the previous owner of the property, she came before the zoning board for a specific use for her business,
Right.
And obviously she abandoned the business and it got turned over. So it looks like even initially she came before the board because the use was going to be for her specifically to utilize the space. Maybe not even to think about using it for other commercial uses. So that's all. And I mean, it really hasn't, and it hasn't been a commercial space for a significant period of time either.
Well, he said it's only been vacant for 2 months. He said that it was running as an acupuncture place for what, 3 years?
3.5.
I mean, that's significant. If it wasn't for that, if it had been vacant this time where he struggled, sure. But the fact that it's been occupied as a business for 3 years makes me.
Do keep in mind the underlying district is residential. Commercials permitted, but this is a residential district, so that's a determination that's an appropriate use for the area, and this is only whether the area variance standards can be met and should be, are acceptable. So, but the underlying district is residential.
Office overlay, as Johanna just indicated, overlay districts are not independently mapped districts. They're just overlaid upon another district to facilitate things. If a property owner wanted to, but the prevailing zoning district is residential. So even when there's an overlay, it tries to control levels of intensity. So sizes, uses, things that are not going to contribute detrimentally to what is predominantly a residential area.
So it's sort of like a flexible,
it gives a property owner a little bit more of an ability to use it, not for like a bar, restaurant, that kind of thing, but just something should they choose, but it's still residential. It's still a residential district.
Got it. So the barrier is
small scale,
small scale. Right? But I mean, I guess in that case, I get it.
I'm okay with it.
Joe brought up a good point, and you guys discussed this at the last hearing with the Monroe Avenue case. When the structure is built as residential and set back from the street, it tends to lend itself to residential.
So I'll make a motion to grant. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
Go ahead. No, you're good.
No, I'll make a motion to grant and to accept the standards excluding standard F, the self-creation.
I'll
I'll
second
second.
it.
Okay.
All right, and I will, I'll go down. Holly?
Grant.
Who's next on my screen here? Joe?
Grant.
Cora?
Deny.
Lorene?
Grant.
And Tyrese.
Grant.
So the motion carries 5-1. And
4-1, right?
4-1, I'm sorry.
4-1.
4-1, I'm sorry. I'm trying to change Joe's number. I had set this up for. Yeah, so the motion carries 4-1 with Cora voting no. Okay, and there are no other applicants on the call, so we'll start with case 1.
Okay, so the signage, we saw a few options that they brought back. I don't know why my hand is up. We saw a few options that they brought back. What did the board feel comfortable with what Well now brought back to the board? There were 3 options: code compliant, the 40 some odd foot and the 50 some odd foot sign, 40 some odd square footage and the 50 some odd square footage signage. And there were some options with the gooseneck lighting, which the neighborhood association had requested.
I like the code compliant with gooseneck.
That case, this whole application would be a denial because code compliant with gooseneck can be.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, for me, my thoughts were, I actually was, to really think about this, they came before us last month with 113 square footage with their normal prototypical signage. I would personally be in favor with giving them the 54 by 22 square footage. I mean, they have really taken a stab to make an effort to cut this in half. I do think that the 54 by 22 square footage fits more in line with the scale of the building, but I personally would be in favor. It's really hard for me, and maybe somebody can convince me. It's really hard for me to grant the LED in the rear of the space where the Starbucks is going to be in the rear of the parking lot, because at that point, folks aren't seeing the lighting, seeing the signage at all until they get to the building, because you can't see it obviously from Culver because that's the back of the building, and you can't see the back of it when you come in from Blossom until you get in front of the building. So at that point, I just think the LED is sort of useless because there's not like there's a highway behind the property. There's not even homes behind the property. I would be more in favor to just give them on both elevations the gooseneck lighting, just because it makes sense. I don't know if anybody else, what other folks' thoughts were on that one. That's why I kind of asked about the other signage coming down Culver, because it doesn't seem like to me, the applicant has made an effort to make this business, to make the signage really viewable for the public, for how the building's laid out. That's just my opinion.
I'm 100% with you on that one. I was willing to give them the 54
by 22, yeah.
Goosenecks on the front and back. Be Friday, and they do goose.
You went to mute.
Joe, you just muted yourself.
Yeah. I said I'd be willing to go with the 54 on front and back, provided they did goosenecks front and back.
I can get on board with that too.
I agree.
Code compliant is really tiny. I know
it really is. I know.
I mean, they were presenting what they were presenting with the 113 square feet. I mean, they've really brought this down.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a compromise. In the community wants the gooseneck, so I think that's a win for everyone.
Yeah. I totally agree. So okay, someone can make a motion. Do you have that captured, Matt? The 54 by 22 with gooseneck on the. So they didn't request gooseneck on the back. So how do we have to condition it?
No, so what you can do is you can make a motion that they can have the 54.22 or whatever it is square foot sign on the front and rear elevation, but that internal illumination is not permitted on either. So your motion can be
so
that.
then they have to. Okay. somebody can go ahead and make that.
I'll make the motion to grant.
So your motion,
Well,
Good.
give me the verbiage.
you're granting the, let me just get the exact number, hold on. The 54.22 square foot sign on both the North Winton, which is the front, and then the rear elevation, which faces the parking lot. However, no internal illumination for the signs is permitted.
Correct.
I will second that.
All right, so there's a motion and a second. I'll go the other way this time. Tyrese
A grant.
and Lorene.
Oh, I'm out.
I'm sorry, that's correct. Thank you. Cora and Joe
Grant.
and Holly.
Grant.
Okay, so that motion carries 4-0.
Okay.
And then
Case number 2.
2, Katy Street.
I mean, he said he doesn't need all that space. There's not a curb cut. He only has 2 cars.
I'm
Other
okay with
places
leaving.
still-
I'm okay with leaving it, but I want to hear other folks.
I mean, I'm okay. I'm actually okay with leaving it too, but there are many reasons to deny it.
Yeah, look, I totally agree. You're looking at 57% over with lot coverage. So
There is a lot of green space, I guess, which is also why I'm not so bothered by it. It doesn't look bad, as long as there's a curb cut. But like I said, there are plenty of reasons to deny. So everybody go.
And with regard to the curb cut, as you all know, he'll have to work with DES on actually getting a contractor to cut out what's left of the curb to actually make it an official opening.
oh, the curb is there. The curb is there. There's no left of it. It's there. So they've been going over
I thought
curbs
this
for
was-
years.
I thought it was
Yeah.
pretty low. I must be thinking of
I mean,
another one.
it's low, but I mean, I think the whole neighborhood's low.
Yeah, they're
I
not
don't think-
newer.
yeah.
They're older.
I like their white picket fence. I think that works well.
So did folks? I mean, it's obviously it's 5 of us here. So, Joe, what was your thought? I mean, did you want him to kind of? I'm open to it. I didn't see it, and I looked around.
I was going to say I'm initially with Cora on that he didn't really need all that space, so I was going to grant with lesser relief.
Me too.
What were you thinking for lesser relief, Cora, Joe, and who said that, Holly?
Well, I was thinking it should be a driveway that's the same scale and size as the driveways that are for normal residents. Single 2-car tandem, single wide.
Me too.
That the guy will do it for $800.
It's true.
Cora, you did not have to bring that up.
I just.
So what do you want him
fine.
to do?
So what is it?
Let's
So what is it?
sell him a car.
So what is it? 11 by?
Well, I could go with 12 by whatever the length is, and then restore the lawn area after he tears out the double wide driveway.
So you're talking about a single width driveway.
Yep, just like a city driveway.
So you're telling him to tear it up?
Not the whole thing, just
Portion.
half of it.
I'm fine with that. So 12 by whatever the length of it is now. So he can keep the length of it to wherever into the,
The width would not be able to, so the width would not be able to exceed 12. So in doing that, this variance is here for the front yard as well as the lot coverage. So removing some of the asphalt would mitigate the additional lot coverage runoff. And then it's in the front yard, but he does not have a rear yard.
It might discourage him from doing detailing on unlicensed vehicles in the yard.
I got it.
Exactly.
Johanna, you have to
Well, he
bring
was
that.
using the lot around the corner.
Johanna and Corey, y'all got to stop it. Y'all don't have to bring those things up.
Well,
Okay.
I'm gonna,
And I think-
I'm
and I
gonna
think-
float.
Yeah, go ahead. I think
I was
he's
just
just
gonna
going to
say-
have to.
One at a time.
No, I was just going to say, I think there were some issues about flooding it, about just some ponding in the area. So, I just think he has to hire a real contractor to really address those issues.
Mhm.
But go ahead, Joe. I'm supportive of.
No, I
the
was gonna
motion.
just float a motion to grant with lesser relief that the driveway can stay, but it has to be 12 feet by whatever the length is from where he has it now to the curb, and to get a curb permission or whatever he's got to do with DES, Matt.
So not to exceed 12 feet in width, and the remaining area asphalt would need to be removed and restored to grass.
Yes.
All right, I'll go with Holly. Oh, I'm sorry, I misspoke. There was a motion. I don't know if there was a second.
I'll second it.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. And Holly
Grant,
and Joe,
Grant.
Cora,
Grant.
Lorene,
Grant,
and Tyrese.
Grant.
So that motion carries 5-0.
Did
Next.
we, so we need to, so next is case number 3,
Langslow
Langslow Street. We need to vote to keep it open to the January hearing?
Yeah, so the board has the ability to do several things. You can, well, 2 things. You can act on it. You can approve with conditions, deny, or you can vote to hold it.
Well, I think the applicant requested us to hold it during the
Yes,
hearing.
correct.
Yeah.
Yep, he did. Yep.
yeah, you did.
So
So,
I'll
yeah,
make
you
a
can make that
motion.
motion to hold
So
it.
I'll make a motion to hold case number 3, 59 Langslow Street to the January zoning board of appeals hearing.
I'll second it.
second,
Matt, could I just give him some information for him? Make sure he has a sign up. I'd like to see a parking plan in the back, not just a black, an area where he's gonna blacktop. And I also want to know if there's on-street parking. I was there today and I didn't think to take a note of it, but
Okay.
There was
when I
there
was
was
there on
on-street parking.
I think
Tuesday,
there's
there
on
was
street
on-street
parking.
parking.
Yeah, there's on street parking.
okay.
And either
Okay.
there's a lot, when I was there this morning, either there's a lot of people working from home or they all are those apartments parking on the street from the Gold
Yeah.
Streets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so there was a motion and a second, and I'll pull the members. Tyrese
Hold.
and Lorene
A Grant,
and Cora,
Grant.
Joe
Grant the hold.
and Holly.
Grant the hold.
Okay, so the motion to hold the application until the January hearing, although this is being announced during deliberation, so postcards will go out. The applicant can determine when he wants to wait another month or 2, but it did pass. All right, and then the last case tonight is the 855 J Street, J and Ames.
Any questions on this one?
no,
No.
So just of note, the applicant did offer testimony during the hearing about the changing of the first floor windows, but I don't think it was actually part of the request.
Correct.
So
For the existing units, that was not part of the request.
he's willing to
that
do it, but you'd want to include it.
Yeah.
Is that something that he would need approval from the board for the existing units, Matt?
Yeah, if the board goes through the standards, is inclined to approve, but also wants the windows to all match, you would need to condition this approval,
Okay.
or could.
I just didn't know if that's something he could go and apply for without that.
I'd have to check the code. He probably could, but you can. I mean, because he's
Yeah,
often doing it.
that's what I thought. That's why I
Yeah.
didn't. Yeah, but that's fine. Any discussion from folks? I'm pretty supportive of this one.
Yeah.
I am too.
I'm fine with this.
I am too.
So let's just.
I think his standards are they struggle just a little bit. They may need some help.
But I think he did a good job in the testimony at addressing.
Yeah.
them.
Yes, I agree.
Do a good job in the written part.
No, thank you, Professor.
You're welcome.
Any
My
issues?
professor said that about me in class.
I just want to run through these here briefly. Any issues with any detriment to the area by the granting of the variance?
No,
I know the applicant for the next one, the essential character, did talk about the area. It's a mix of commercial and residential, of course.
Yeah.
But any undesirable change?
It's a change
I don't
for the
think that
better.
area needs more corners.
It's
so-
for the better.
It's for the better. So the improvements to
agree,
the
so.
elevation. Okay.
Definitely improves the character.
And the quality of life for this community.
Mhm.
There's no other means feasible for the applicant to pursue, so that means within the code, this is his remedy. Is the requested variance substantial?
Yes.
I don't think it's substantial, because if you look at, I don't think, the two pieces we're looking at is proposing is
Oh, yeah,
decreasing
true.
that transparency, and then the deficiency square footage. I mean, that's only 9.2%. I mean, we were just talking about cases that were a lot larger and percentage wise. So I don't think those are significant.
Okay.
And the reduction in the transparency is because the space is going from commercial to a residential space.
Perfect.
One of them.
Got it. Okay.
Well, it's kind of substantial, but it's not detrimental, I don't think, to the
Yep.
to the proposal.
And then physical or environmental conditions. So there will be some physical changes, but the question is around any adverse impacts to the physical conditions in the neighborhood.
No.
No.
Talked about an improvement with the other windows, and then self-created.
Yeah.
We all know the board doesn't,
Yeah.
or the
Usually.
can be, but
Yeah, I think so. He obviously could have marketed and attempted to restore, or take the plywood down and restore it as commercial and rent it out. But I think this use is a better use for the community, moving the part of the vacancy to residential.
any other thoughts on this one?
Oh, it's a nice improvement.
Good, okay. Someone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to grant.
I'll second it.
Are there any conditions on the motion?
You want to include the windows,
Do you want to
Joe?
include the windows, or do you want him to just?
Yeah, you can, and to upgrade the windows there to all match per the architect's elevation. I think they're dictating the architect's elevation, right?
Yeah, the new ones are. So you're approving on condition that the other first floor residential windows, the smaller ones, would be replaced to match the new size. Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
And we'll go with Holly.
Grant.
Joe
Grant.
and Cora,
Grant.
Lorene,
Grant.
and Tyrese.
Grant.
So that motion on condition carries 5-0, and that is all of the cases